whilst we were talking of Buffy Season 6, I did mention that Season 4 of Angel was a bit of a dreaded subject for me. I really didn't want to get round to it. I didn't remember it very fondly. But now that I've looked back on it, there's a lot more that I liked than I disliked. And a lot more that I am really sort of drawn to and fond of than I thought I was. And I think if you look at the IMDb scores, it reflects why. It reflects exactly why I had that thought. So the start of the season, okay figures. Middle chunk, the kind of big arc particularly, you know the one where one of our old friends comes out to play. We'll talk about it later. That was like consistently high. We're talking 9s or 9 point something. And then, as soon as we get to the Jasmine arc, it drops 7s and thereabouts. Even Home didn't get a great response either. And that's, I think, what people have suffered with. We had this great middle of a season. We had the usual thing with Angel where it's a slow build-up where we're kind of like just finding our feet again after the end of last year. Dealing with a few old threads, but mostly just kind of like treading water for a few and then bringing us into the big arc. It happens a lot with Buffy, to be fair, as well. But, we had this middle chunk of build. What is this beast? What's going on? What are we doing? Why have we brought him back? Why have we brought her back? All this kind of stuff that's going on, this amazing development. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, Cordy's pregnant with some evil being who turns out to be Gina Torres, who I love, Definitely not an evil being, I would say, who just wants to bring peace to the world. Okay, she eats a few people every now and then. Oh well, I'm sure we'll survive. And then Wolfram and Hart want you to have the keys to the kingdom, if you will, because you chose to not have world peace. It's such a weird thing when you put it in those terms. The last, not the last bit, the whole Home thing, but that Jasmine chunk just does not fit. It's almost like they knew that they weren't getting as many seasons as they hoped, and they compressed it down. They might have had the season end with Cordelia giving birth. That would have been a swan song. The next year, this old Jasmine arc, which I'm not sure if they could have drawn it out long, but I don't know. It did feel very forced. It's almost like a whole arc should have been leading up to it. And arguably, yes, the whole arc was. This was arguably a continuation of the whole thing of like, Connor, is he going to bring some evil into the world or good? I think it does work. The IMDb figures do bear out what I felt. That it felt tacked on. It was just I will do this now. And that's no good. But, like I say, there were more good moments than I remembered. We had the introduction of Gwen, who really is an Electra Nachos. And a lot of people probably hate it because she's trying to get it on with Angel and Gunn. Grow up. It'll happen. In your favourite TV shows, people will try getting it on with your favourite characters who you think should be with someone else. Welcome to TV. But I think there was a lot of potential to a character that went underused. We had her introduced and we had a few moments where she cropped up again, but for the most part, she was just kind of a bit there. I think there was a lot of potential to her, and I would have loved to see more. But speaking of potential, another massive highlight, which I will be talking about in a couple of weeks, the house always wins. Just in brief, the idea that your fate, your destiny, can be, sort of like singled out and then taken from you. You could be the nicest guy in the world. You're a humanitarian who's going to make so many great sweeping changes, and you're doing it because you care. Yet, maybe you're going to get married soon, so you go to Vegas, on a bachelor night out, a stag do as we call them over here. And this guy who's dressed like a demon gets you to sing along. This is great audience participation. Gives you some free quarters. Oh, let's go and play the slots, and now that's your life. Whilst some other guy who's paid a hefty price gets your future, gets your humanitarian plaudits, and that's why he's doing it. He doesn't want it for the humanitarian side. He wants the praise. He wants what will come with that. It's a terrifying concept, and a great way of showing how the group are not particularly great at listening and picking up cues. They think Lorne's doing fine. And it takes a lot of kind of like, no, this is wrong, for them to actually get on board with that. I think it actually pretty much takes Angel to be swayed because of his massive destiny. We had Supersymmetry, which again I'll go into more detail, which gave us a nice bump to the relationship with Fred and Gunn. We had Spin the Bottle, which was great because it showed us this idea of them back to the young ones. Alexis Denisov, for all his great acting chops in serious mode, is a fantastic comic actor. And it's been kind of a travesty that, like, from for a lot of season 3 into season 4, it's been this bleak, dark world that he's inhabited. So getting to see a bit more of that, getting to see what Fred was like as a teen, which isn't dissimilar to Cave Fred in a way. Getting the old bitchy Cordelia back, all this kind of stuff. And again, the idea that they're terrified that Angel is a vampire. But then we had the whole kind of arc of like, okay, we have this thing with the Beast, everything's kind of bringing it up to speed. What is going on here, And we had to get our old buddy Angelus back because apparently he'd had previous dealings with the Beast. There was interactions there, and the whole thing with that, how we're given the double bluff here. It's like we've got it out of him this way. We've got this. It kind of was a great idea. This idea that the whole episode was just in his mind. The idea that this guy was evil and had vanquished him, to then get him to have the moment of pure happiness, which is what the shaman was actually doing. It's a very different approach to the shaman we saw in season 3 of Buffy. Very different approaches to the idea of bringing the soul out. And this whole thing, that then they have to break Faith out to try and help sort of bring him out, and then obviously get Willow involved as well, which of course ties in nicely with season 7 of Buffy, which obviously we'll cover next month. This whole thing, of this arc in the middle, like I say, there's a reason that this is a consistently positive score, high score part of the season. We get the return of Angelus, we get the crossover again because of them, having that agreement back. We had more of this crossover ability. It was great to have. We got to see this world again, sort of be interconnected. And then, like I say, we got the weird ending arc with Jasmine and all of that, all that entailed. But then we had Home, where they said, well done, you could have had world peace. I mean, okay, yeah, we saw in the other dimension that it was going to go bad at some point down the line. But there was technically world peace there, and they chose not to have it. And yeah, it was an interesting end to the season. Obviously, it leads us nicely into next year. But also we have the whole thing, that Angel is given the amulet that he'll give to Buffy. These seasons are very slightly out of alignment, actually. This does end slightly before season 7 of Buffy ends, which is why I'm glad I did it in this order. See, you always thought I was just like, I just wanted a break. It's all well planned. I'm not as dumb as I look. But, it was an interesting year, and there was a lot of good to it, like I say, that I'd completely forgotten. That was really good. It was just marred by this weird tonal shift. And it led us to season 5, which people hate in some circles, but a lot of people love as well. And frankly, Angel as a puppet, if you don't love that, there's something wrong with you. But we'll talk about that in a couple of months' time. But before then, we've got the highlights for this season, where I'll cover a lot of the episodes I've talked about already, but in a bit more detail. And then, of course, we have season 7 of Buffy, closing that one out before we move to the end of the year. But that'll be it from me, so thank you very much for watching, and as always, take care.